Hill. Excuse me. What's the number?
A lot of these names you guys are not familiar with, and that's why we invited them, so you can get familiar with them, know what they have to offer the city of Detroit. My name is Olivia Worker Pope. I'm the co-chair of the Friends of the Dexter Elmhurst Community Center, and we really, all right, that's better, because I can't talk long. Good, all right? And we're going to get started directly. I'm going to introduce one of the directors of the Dexter Elmhurst Community Center, Ms. Helen Moore.
Hi, y'all. All right, we're getting ready to get it on now. You know, we're the kind of group that just tells it like it is. You know, they can come in here and sham, but we know the truth. Because we do our homework. We research everybody, and we research everyone that's up here, even the names that you may not be familiar with. I want to tell you that I'm Helen Moore, and I'm the vice chair of Dexter Elmhurst Center, and I'm also the co-chair of Keep the Vote No Takeover, and many other groups that I participate in. This center, we wanted you here so you could see what's happening in our neighborhood. This center has been open for years, but lately it's been closed because utility bills have to be paid. We don't get any grants of any kind, and we are trying our best now to have fundraisers so that we can make sure that we pay the utilities and get our children back into their own neighborhood building. So you got to understand now that some of us do not sell out, some of us work hard for our children, and some of us are dedicated to the well-being of our children and our neighborhood. So in this center, it was given to us by Mr. Davis, who had a dealership. Then the community couldn't keep it up, so the state took over. Then we got it back from the state, and we bought it back for $1. And it's our job to keep this center open, and we've been doing everything we can. And so we hope when you leave here that you'll leave a donation to help us pay some of these bills, because we're going to get this center back open for our children. So, thank you very much. Without further ado, I want you to know that I'm here to also introduce Miss Kimberly Hayes Taylor. She is going to be the MC for today. And I'm sure if everybody cooperates and don't act like I act sometimes, we're going to get through this, okay? I'm going to be real lawyerly today, okay? So I don't know what that means, but I'm going to try, all right? So Kimberly Hayes Taylor is a veteran journalist who has won many national, state, and local awards and is a Pulitzer Prize nominee. Until being named editor of BLAC, Detroit Magazine, in 2012, she was a health and features writer for the Detroit News. She has been a reporter at several other newspapers, writing news and features, including the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, the Hartford Courant, USA Today, and the Louisville Courier-Journal. She also has been a frequent contributor for many other publication news outlets such as MSNBC.com, NBCnews.com, Today.com, Reuters Health, Essence and Black Enterprise Magazine. She is the author of several books such as Black Civil Rights Champions, Black Abolitionists and Freedom Fighters, and lives in East English Village in Detroit. I want to present to you our MC for this evening, Ms. Kimberly Hayes Taylor. Give her a hand.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everybody. I'm really excited to be here because we are participating in what I consider one of the most important processes in the United States of America, the electoral process. So tonight you will get to meet the candidates who are running for the office of mayor of the city of Detroit. And we would like to start off by allowing you to introduce yourselves and to make a 2-minute statement about who you are and what your platform is about. But first, I would like for you to invite you to write down any questions that you may have. You should have had a white index card on your seat. If you don't have one, raise your hand so somebody can bring you one. Write down your questions for the candidate, because at the end of their presentations, you will be allowed to participate in an open forum where you can ask them whatever you want. They will be placed in this basket, and I will be selecting your questions at random. Now for the candidates. So I would like for you to, just in order, we're not in alphabetical order tonight, so in the order of you're seated to make your introduction. Tonight we have with us Sigmund Shapowski, Crystal Crenton, D'Artagnan Collier, Fred Durrell, Lisa Howes, Judge Lipscomb, Benny Napoleon, John Alumba, John Telford, Jean Fortcamp, Herman Griffin, and did I leave anybody out? Oh, Mr. Murphy, I'm very sorry. Welcome to each of you. So we will start off by, in the order that you're seated, introduce yourself, and you have exactly 2 minutes to state your platform.
My name is Herman Griffin. I'm a licensed Michigan attorney and a youth advocate. For over 12 years, I've worked with at-risk youth as an educator, as a mentor, graduate of Cass Technical High School, Howard University School of Divinity, and also Thomas Cooley Law School. Now, what we want to do is change the focus of politics in the city of Detroit. From reviewing our problems, which we are all aware of, our problems of high unemployment, high crime, and high dropout rates, to issuing and focusing on real solutions that keep the needs of citizens first. If we keep the needs of citizens first, focus on our most vulnerable populations, such as our youth, seniors, and people transitioning out of different homes, then we will be able to renew the city of Detroit. You can't try to focus on the top and think it's going to trickle down to the bottom. But if you increase the life, the quality of life for our most vulnerable populations, we can move the city forward to be a place that we can not only work and play in, but a city that we all can live in. And again, my name is Herman Griffin, candidate for mayor of the city of Detroit.
Thank you very much. Next candidate, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is D'Artagnan Collier. I'm a city worker and a socialist. I am for the ousting and the rejection of the city's emergency manager. Kevin Moore issued a report 2 weeks ago that was an open declaration of war against the working class in the city. His plan is to target the pensions and the health care of city workers and retirees, condemning them to a life of poverty and poor health, which is a part of a general attack on all workers, the unemployed and students in Detroit, nationally and internationally. There will be no equal sacrifice between the bondholders and the workers. The bondholders are insured, but the workers who will lose their jobs will fall back on nothing. Or is here to destroy what is left of the social safety net that has been fought for by workers and young people within the last century and a half. My campaign is to educate workers and to mobilize the working class against the real relations that exist in Detroit and the United States. The truth is, we do not live in a democracy. This is a plutocracy, a government of the rich, for the rich, and by the rich. The imposition of the EM is a part of a broader attack. Just recently, we found out that a young, courageous young man exposed the fact that the federal government is spying on its American citizens through his cell phones and his emails. And this is being done at a time where the growth of inequality between the rich and the poor is at its greatest in the history of this country. So therefore, it is no accident that, and I want you to support my campaign because I'm for building a new leadership among workers that will fight for social equality and economic justice.
Thank you very much. Candidate Crystal Crittenden.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Crystal Crittenden, and I am running for mayor of the city of Detroit. Born and raised in this city, Detroit Public Schools, Cass Technical High School. You're supposed to clap when I say Detroit. Okay. I keep telling people, I can say I went to Harvard and Princeton and Yale and no one would say anything, but when I say I went to Cass, I get woo! Born and raised in this city, I've worked for the City of Detroit Law Department since 1994, was the Corporation Counsel for 4 years, was appointed both by Mayor Cockrell and Mayor Bing. I am running for this city because democracy is under attack. In the city of Detroit especially. And there are people who would want to balance the city's alleged budget problems on the backs of the city workers, the city residents, and the people who have been here supporting this city through some of these darkest days. What they are doing is unfair. It is based on a lie. The emergency manager is here illegally. He is going to leave the city of Detroit before 18 months are up. I ask that you consider me to be, when you vote, no, not November, August 6th, because if you don't vote August 6th, I won't be on the ballot in November. But vote for me on August 6th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lisa?
Good evening. I am Lisa Howes, and I am a candidate for mayor here in the city of Detroit. I'm not only running for the office of mayor, but I'm running to win, of course, with your help. Why am I running? Because I truly believe that I can make a difference. When you think about the city of Detroit, they often talk about the financial crisis and turning the city around. Well, we will not be able to turn the city around until we make life better for the residents who live here in the city of Detroit first. Not last, but first. And how do we go about doing that? Well, number one, we make life better for Detroit by making our citizens safe. That's our number one responsibility. When you have the opportunity to sit out on your porch and enjoy a sunny day like today and not worry about someone trying to attack you, not worrying about someone trying to break into your home, not worrying about if you have to go to the gas station tonight and whether or not you'll get carjacked on the way from the gas station, that's when we know we're safe. The second thing is fixing the finances. Make no bones about it. Our employees in this city have been threatened a number of times with pay cuts, 10% here, 10% there. Furlough days. We can't even do business with the city of Detroit because nobody's working on certain days. This is a real problem because it affects the services that you receive, that you and I pay tax dollars for. So we've got to get the finances straight. I am a certified public accountant. I can meet the needs and concerns of our finances in the city. The third thing is when people are working, they can pay taxes. When people are working, they can afford to live in their homes. When people are able to stay in their homes, we have stronger communities. When we have stronger communities, we have a better Detroit. How are we going to put people back to work? Entrepreneurship and developing city airport. Again, I am Lisa Howes, and I ask for your support on August 6th. Thank you.
Chairman Napoleon?
Good evening. Such a pleasure to be home. I grew up in the shadows of this building, played at Winterhalter Field and ate corned beef at Esquire and rolled the ball at Dexter Bowl and football at McCabe Field and basketball at the Boys and Girls Club over on Collinwood. So I'm happy to be back in the neighborhood that I grew up in as a young child. And my mom still lives within walking distance, straight up Elmhurst. So I'm back home, and I appreciate being here. Thank you for putting this forum together, and it's extremely important. I'm going to say during my introduction very simply that this is the most critical election that we're going to have in this city for decades to come. That whoever you elect mayor is going to shape the direction of this city for not just our children, but for our grandchildren. My daughter lives in this city, my grandson lives in this city, my mom lives in this city, and I've got 4 sisters who live in this community. This is important to me. We have some serious challenges. We need economic development. We need to make sure that we clean this city up, because this is not the community that I grew up in. When I remember what Dexter Avenue looked like, it didn't look like it looks today. You've got to educate our children. That has to be a top priority for us. We can educate our children, we can create jobs, and we can clean this community up. But ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't mean anything if you're not safe. If you cannot, as my aunt was planting flowers in her front yard on Oakland Boulevard, she was robbed at gunpoint, planting flowers. We have deacons robbed in parking lots and people murdered on the streets of this community, and we take it as if it's a normal course of business in our lives. It's not. We need tough leadership for tough times, and I want your support in August and November. Thank you so much for me.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I know it's pretty hot in here, and I'd like to congratulate you all for being in here in this un-AC building. So congratulations, and thank you all for coming to actually hear what each and every last candidate has to say. Well, let me tell you who I am. I'm Mark Murphy. I've been born and raised in this community all my life. I lived in Southwest Detroit. I just moved over here to the near the Boston Edison community off of 14th and Glen just 2 years ago. I understand exactly what's going on in this city. I understand exactly what's going on in the bottom area. I've talked to over 700 city employees, and each and every last one of them tell me the same thing, that we are top heavy. We're very top heavy. We don't invest in the bottom. If you can imagine a rainstorm and the rain coming down the tree, all the leaves at the top of the tree is absorbing all the water. By the time it gets to the roots, where the people actually are working, it don't matter. It's not enough money. And people ask me, well, what is your experience? What is your experience to run for this office? My experience is being right here on the ground with you all. I'm one of the only candidates that catches the bus. I understand that the bus is cut off at 12 o'clock at night, and people don't have a way to get home at night. I have walked with grandmothers, over 14, I have walked with grandmothers in the middle of the night because buses haven't been running. And it's not just buses, there's a whole lot of issues, and I'm Mark Murphy, and I have the solutions for those issues. Thank you.
All right. Judge Dexter.
Thank you and good evening. This is remarkable that on a hot summer evening, so many of you will come out to make sure that America and this city works. That's what we do in Detroit. I'm Willie Lipscomb, and I was a judge in 36th District Court for almost 30 years, and I retired mid-term so that I could run for mayor of the city of Detroit. I can't tell you how many homicides I have seen down through the years. That was my specialty. I started out as a prosecutor after graduating from Notre Dame Law School. I went to the prosecutor's office, and I was a homicide specialist. And that was in the 70s. And I could see what was happening in this city. And in this city, more people have left the city of Detroit in a decade than any other city in the Western Hemisphere. And that is what's resulted in this financial downfall. We were at one point in time, we were almost 2 million citizens. Now we're down under 700,000. We lost 1.3 million people, and the the vast majority of those people have left this city because they are concerned about crime, specifically homicides. 411 homicides in this city alone. And it's young men who are being killed. If you look at New York City, they had roughly 400 to 500 homicides, but their population is 8.4 million. Detroit is under 700,000. This drives people away, it drives businesses away. We can't bring jobs here until we do something about this crime problem. And we can't do it by sending a whole other generation of young people to prison. That's right. And I founded 20 years ago the Handgun Intervention Program in 36 District Court, and I'm still doing that after 20 years. I do that every Saturday. Thank you very much. Willie Lipscomb, vote for me August 6th.
Thank you, Mr. Shapowski.
Okay, hello. My name is Sigmund John Shapowski Jr. And to pronounce my last name is Shapkowski. Let's say it. Shapkowski. There you go. You're all speaking Polish now. Anyway, my program and my platform is going to be starting at 8 Mile going south into the city. Okay? East and west of the borders. We have to concentrate on the neighborhoods with these overgrown weeds and these abandoned houses here. My platform is going to be one team will come and knock down the structure, the next team will come and scoop it up, and the next team will come and fill in the hole. And this is what needs to be done so we can make it. Contractors, we're never going to get ahead with contractors, okay? Because they have these oversight costs, etc., and they hold you by gun, okay? I'm not doing that. I'm putting people back to work, even if they have a felony conviction. I don't give a damn. I need to put these people back to work. I need these neighborhoods cleaned up, especially the school zones, okay? There was supposed to be 10,000 houses knocked down in this administration, and nothing has been done, okay? These kids are a threat every day. They're your children, okay? They're your children, and they're my children too. I'm one of the people in the city, probably the only one yet, that still puts on the street lights in case the kid has a problem. They can run on my porch, okay? That's what I do, okay? And we need to add eyes, ears, nose, but they forgot one thing to add on there. We need a mouth with that. We need to go after these people that are doing this illegal dumping, okay? We need to take their vehicles away from them. We need to take their carts away from them. However they're hauling that stuff around the city, we need to show them that Detroit is not going to be a whore anymore. We need to show them that we are going to stand up and address these problems, okay? What you have next door to you, you want gone, okay? The only way that's going to be gone is when you vote for Shapkowski on August 6th and November 11th. I mean, November, whatever it's going to be. Vote for Shapkowski.
Good evening. My name is John Telford. Recently I was your school superintendent until Mr. Roberts saw fit after that illegal law got put in to fire me. So some leadership folks from the Detroit School Board prevailed upon me to run for mayor. And that's what I'm doing right now. I grew up in this town. 16th Street, McGraw is where I was born and grew up. Went to Northwestern High School. We had a little problem there. I sent to live with my father, on the east side. Graduated from Denby. And best thing ever happened because those coaches got me an athletic scholarship, and I ended up on the United States national team as a sprinter. And I bring that same kind of energy to anything I do. Our city is hurting. Luckily, we don't have to contend with the Duggan candidacy anymore. And I think we've got folks, anyone sitting here, can do this job. But we've got to, when I say jobs is what we've got to get. Because if we can get jobs and we can get our citizens working again, everything else can take care of itself. The crime, the insurance rates, everything. It's all interrelated. So I have a 32-page platform with 42 planks in that platform that have to do with solving problems in the city, which I love, and where I have lived, off and on all my life. I was also the guy that they dragged off the stage in Galilee, but I ended up on the front page of the Chronicle, so, and now I'm in the debate, so I'm debating. But my major target is gone. That was Mr. Duggan. Now I think we all have to find a way to elect our best mayor, and then we have to thank the emergency manager for his services and invite him to depart. Thank you.
Jean Vorkamp.
Hi, my name is Jean Fordkamp. I'm a lifelong Detroiter from the East Side, and I'm a past Citizen of the Year of Detroit who believes that Detroit needs to be run by someone with a community work background, not a politician. I was trained in Detroit church basement meetings, vacant lot gardens, and Wayne State lecture halls to give voice to the voiceless. Lessons in community work, fundraising, community team building led me to start an award-winning nonprofit 15 years ago that has served 1,000 children. It's called The Front Porch. Wayne State professors in my graduate and undergraduate degrees gave me skills in negotiation, problem solving, and social justice. I will be sure every decision in Detroit will be weighed for its effect on children, whether that's about passing down debt through bonds or deciding on funding an anti-truancy program. My confidence in the expertise of Detroiters to solve our own problems allows me to lead the changes we all need to reveal the Detroit we all have in our hearts. We have been silenced and victimized too long. To give voice to every neighborhood, all districts will be divided into clusters of neighborhoods with city department workers assigned to them and known by name. The workers will be at community meetings once a month. Clusters will have shared resources like lawnmowers and bouncy houses for block club parties. We will focus on financing ourselves, cooperative economics in neighborhoods through food co-ops, credit unions, entrepreneurships, small business, and a community land trust that provides permanently affordable housing to low-income people. For safety, police officers will be assigned to each neighborhood and known by name. More community policing, crime investigation, and deterring crime like community mediation. Alternative energy streetlights will be on every street, not just some, and we will also make more energy than we need. So I hope you'll vote for me. You can check out my blog. There's tons of ideas, mayorjean.blogspot.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll have Fred Dorhall.
Thank you, Detroit. First of all, let me say welcome to all of you who have come tonight. Welcome to my district. This is my state representative district. And I have been the state representative here for a number of years. I want to also talk to you today about my next step. I want to be your mayor in the city of Detroit. We have a leadership problem downtown in the city of Detroit that I believe can only be solved by people who understand government and what it's about, how it works, and turn it and make it work for us. We've seen what happens when people don't understand what to do in situations in the city of Detroit where leadership is required. I am a leader. I have been on in the government for 36 years. I am the only person in this race who can stand here and tell you that I've served on the city, county, federal, and state government levels. I've served in two branches of government, the executive branch and the legislative branch. Pound for pound, I'm the best candidate that is in this race. Virginia Park is an area where I worked working in the community to help rebuild a community that was devastated by the riots of 1967. In addition to that, I have brought money back to the city of Detroit. I brought money to the city of Detroit in the tune of more than $1 million. $500,000 for the expansion of the Motown Museum, $500,000 for the expansion of Techtown at Wayne State University. I'm a busy representative, a pretty good one. I'm the only African American who is fighting for you every day on the Appropriations Committee of the House of Representatives. I live in this neighborhood. I grew up in the neighborhood. I went to Northwestern High School, Wayne State University, and the University of Phoenix. So I know what I'm talking about when I talk about government, and I know what to do to fix it when it's broken. And I promise you this, as your mayor, we're going to fix it.
Thank you very much. Dartane Collier. I just want to make sure. Mr. Barrow.
I think how much time do I have? 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and I just used 5 seconds. Good afternoon. I had to drop and change clothes and had to change shirts. This is my 4th stop of the day, so I had to look kind of halfway Christian. Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be here, and I apologize for holding you up there. But let me say this as I start. I know I've only got 2 minutes and less than that. I don't think it's any secret in this room that our city's under assault. It's under assault by conservative forces using this fake, phony financial emergency. Folks are coming back into Detroit in droves. The key element of this phony financial emergency, I just put him out of the race because they needed Mike Duggan. The reality is it's time for us as a city. It's time for us as a city to take our city back. I tell folks that, I was born and raised here in Detroit at Old Black Kerwood Hospital. I'm very proud to be a Detroiter. And I don't shy away from that which I think is wrong. But it's time for us as a city. Coleman Young started us out. And if we surrender it now, if we go to weak leadership, go along, get along kind of leadership, we're going to look up and find ourselves on the outside presiding over nothing. They want Belial, they want the water system, they want the bus system, they want the lighting system, they want everything of value that we own. It is time for us now to stand up. It is time for us to take our city back. And it's time for us to look them straight in the eye. And the thing that's confronting us is dealing with finance. I'm an expert in municipal finance. I met with Andy Dillon. I told him about the phoniness and the fakeness of this thing. I am one of those who is not afraid. I come from a family that is fighters. If you like what Joe Louis Barrow did to Max Schmeling, you will like what Tom Joe Barrow is about to do and to help us in the city of Detroit. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Now I would like to remind you to be quiet and respectful while the candidates are speaking. Also, you will have your opportunity to participate in the forum by completing a written index card, which will go in this basket. So has anyone not received an index card, please raise your hand. You will be taken care of. Now, candidates, I will be asking you 3 questions. You will be given 2 minutes to answer the question. The first question concerns taxes, and you can go in order of your seating. Let's start with Jean Fort Camp. Well, we haven't started yet. I have to ask the question first. Okay. How will you expand the tax base, collect back taxes, and delinquencies?
I will expand the tax base by first improving public safety in schools. Many poor people would live here if just those 2 things were fixed. I will help develop economically just neighborhoods based on cooperative economics, Detroiter-owned small manufacturing that pays a living wage, credit unions, and community land trusts that offer low-income housing to individuals, not investors, and prevents gentrification. I will sue for the money lost in the interest swap and predatory lending in housing. I will increase the effectiveness of the Department of Administrative Hearings to clear up blight and collect that money. The city needs to improve its accounting systems. We will set up a policy for open source software. Maybe you don't know, but software for the city costs quite a bit of money, and the city is quite behind on that. But there is free software available, and we could become a leader in the country in that if we so chose. We will update our data. We will work with suburban governments to collect the money that people that work here but do not live here owe us, and as well as professional athletes who owe us a lot of money. Thank you.
John Telford, former superintendent of Detroit Public Schools. As an educator, a lifelong educator, I believe in teaching our kids to be able to get the appropriate jobs. We haven't been doing that. In fact, we're going in the opposite direction with this EAA, which is the creature of the governor. They put that so-called school district in place Mr. Duggan was the governor's appointee on that. He was the secretary treasurer of the EAA, and they're tearing down the Detroit Public Schools. Jobs, jobs, jobs is what we need to do in this city, and we haven't been doing it. We have to generate revenue many ways. Some of the vacant land, needs to be redeveloped. Some of the housing that is still salvageable, we need to put families in those homes so we can increase that tax base. But basically, jobs, jobs, jobs. I remember, Governor Blanchard years ago, I was on a speaker's bureau. That was his mantra: jobs, jobs, jobs. We're not doing it here. And part of the reason we're not doing it here is because we've got these corporate crocodiles who are preying on us, from the governor on down. So the basic thing that we have to do is we have to generate income. We can, I don't know how long I've got to talk. Is there a limit on this? It must be. Okay, I can talk forever on how to get jobs. But we've got to generate income. There are several ways to do that. I think the city has to partner with some of the corporations. We have to bottle our water and sell it, for example, because of the best water in the country. And we're not doing that. There are several things that the predecessors of whomever becomes mayor did not do that needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay, the first thing I'd like to do too is I would like to expand the tax base by, there's a lot of businesses out in the suburbs that do want to come across 8 Mile, okay? They're Shepkowski, Sigmund John Shepkowski Jr. There are businesses that do want to come across 8 Mile, but we need more police on the street. You can't have 3 radio units answering calls, okay? I want to advocate for 15 units on the streets at all the time. But in these houses that are rehabable, I like to give them away to the citizens, okay? And start a tax base. We gotta start somewhere. The ones that can be habitable, that's where we need to go with it. I need to see the 8 Mile rush coming because they look, I have a box company that wants to come. I have a printing company that wants to come. I have a factory that wants to come. They ask me, what do we have to offer them? Well, first off, their operating cost is going to tremendously go down, okay? Because they're going to purchase a building here, a structure, and they're going to operate. And then it's jobs, okay? You're creating more jobs in the city, in the areas that it needs. And this is my expandable plan here. We also need to get business with these tax abatements. I do not support tax abatements, okay? I support what I'm saying now. It will be much cheaper for a company to come to Detroit and operate there. You have all the 4 ways of transportation: freeway, railroads, plane. And that's where we're at with it.
Thank you, Judge Hudson. Now, please resist the urge to speak while the candidates are speaking.
Thank you. I'm Willie Lipscomb. Tax revenues will go down in Detroit about $15 million property tax revenues from where they were last year because of the decreasing property values in this city. A man named Charles Mayhew, who writes for the National Network, he authored an article about a month ago. I caught it on MSNBC. MSNBC. And he said flat out, the banks are responsible for what happened in Detroit. And that's true. All of these abandoned houses, the vast majority of those houses are owned by the banks. They walk away from them. They don't maintain them. And that doesn't happen in the suburbs, so they have to be held responsible for that. They are driving down everyone's property values. The other thing, I agree, we need more jobs in this city. To have more jobs, companies are not going to come to our city until we make our city safe. We have to make safety priority 1. We also need a robust mass transit system. That's back on the table. The M1 rail is back on the table. We need aggressive leadership to make that happen. That will bring citizens back to the city when there is reasonable, safe, and clean transportation. People will come back to this city. Many of you, I know, are familiar with Washington, D.C. and the Metro. It took them 35 years to build the Metro. that translates into jobs, jobs, jobs. Now, a lot of the people in here realize that in the city of Detroit, they've been racing cars for 40 or 50 years at night. You can't stop it. You might as well legalize it, turn it into a business, get ESPN to come in here, generate some tax revenue. It won't create 50,000 jobs, but we have to start being innovative. That's how NASCAR started, with moonshiners driving fast cars.
Thank you. The question on the floor to each candidate is, how will you expand the tax base, collect back taxes and delinquencies? Mark Murphy. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Mark Murphy. No, this is a very, very, very vital question. How are we going to expand the tax base in the city? How are we going to bring people back to the city? What is our focus for the city? Our focus should be on the youth, and our focus should be on our neighborhoods. My plan is simple. I have done the research. I have looked at this neighborhood. I've looked at our city. I've driven down hundreds of blocks. And I know this is how we can solve the issue. We're going to take this city 6 blocks at a time. We're going to focus on the city 6 blocks at a time. And what I mean by that is we're going to search a 6-block area every week or every 2 weeks, and we're going to clean that neighborhood. We're going to cut down that grass. We're going to tear down those houses using city workers. And then we're going to get our youth involved, and also the people in the community. But we're going to get our youth involved, and we're going to have them shadow city workers. Because a lot of our youth in our neighborhoods, they grow up in households where many people are not working. So they lose the value of work, of what a work ethic is. So what we need to do is show them that, hey, people are working in this city, and these are some of the people that's working, our city workers. So let's get them involved in cleaning up their own neighborhood. Like I said, we're going to cut down the grass, we're going to tear down the houses, we're going to have people vacuum out those sewers, so you don't have the water flooding in your neighborhoods. Also, we're going to have a plan for security. Our plan for security involves surveillance cameras on light poles in your neighborhoods. Too many people are being shot, too many people are being robbed, too many people are being raped in our communities. And there's no secret in this community. The secret is that if you see something, shh, don't say nothing. We don't need to focus on having you or anyone else put your life at risk by telling the police something. What we need to do is have the tools available so the police can solve the issues themselves. Thank you very much. I'm Mark Murphy.
And you have 2 minutes.
The only way you can expand the tax base is to increase population and to grow businesses. The only way you can raise revenue is either increase taxes or increase fees. So that's what we have to focus on as a community. We have to focus on rebuilding our neighborhoods, growing businesses, and getting people to repopulate this community. I have not bought into the adage that the city of Detroit is 700,000 and continues shrinking. I believe that we can grow our community, we can increase our population, and we can create a community that people want to live, work, play in, and visit. That has to happen. How are we going to do it? I proposed a square mile initiative where we're going to take every single square mile of the city of Detroit and make it a livable, walkable, sustainable neighborhood by assigning a police officer every single square mile of this community so that if you have issues with abandoned cars, that officer is going to move them out. If you're going to have any issue with graffiti, we're going to have a police officer take care of that graffiti. If you have issues related to lighting and issues related to streets, we're going to have somebody right there on the ground working with the churches, the community, working with the schools and working with businesses right on the ground every single day in your neighborhood. You will know that person. You will know that person like you know your neighbors because that person will be in your community every single day. So that's how we're going to increase tax revenue, and that's how we're going to increase our population. We need to collect the money that is owed us by people who haven't paid the taxes that they owe. I pay my taxes, and everybody else should pay their taxes. I pay my taxes every single year, whether it's payroll taxes or property taxes. No one should be excluded from doing that. If someone's not paying our taxes, the day that they owe us, they should be collected and we should take them to court. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. House.
Allow me to answer the question. The question was, how are we going to expand the tax base, collect on the back taxes, and handle delinquencies. Number one, we expand the tax base. We cannot increase the tax rate. We are at our statutory limit in terms of what we can charge as rates. That's number one. Number two, we have to expand it by having more businesses in the city of Detroit paying taxes, by having more individuals paying income taxes. And the only way you're going to be able to pay income taxes is you have to have a job. So we have to focus on building an economy that will allow us to do that. At the center of my economic development plan is City Airport. This is a part of a global industry called the Global Transportation, Logistics, and Distribution Industry. In other words, it's companies like DHL, FedEx, UPS who are moving products from point A to point B. In the nation, that's a $150 billion industry. My goal is 1% for the city of Detroit. That's $1.5 billion worth of economic activity flowing through our communities. And as I said from the onset, when people are working, they can pay taxes. When people are working, they can afford to stay in their homes, which means they're paying property tax. So that's the other primary area where we collect tax revenues in the city of Detroit. Now, to address the back taxes, one, we have to have an amnesty program. You cannot go back 10 years ago, send someone a bill and say, pay it today. That's not realistic. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's settle for what we can afford, that you can afford, and we're going to take care of that. As it relates to delinquencies, right now we need legislation through Lansing, which I push for, that will allow the burden to not rest on you, the taxpayer, but on the employer to withhold local income taxes. That's how we do it. That's the answer to this question. Thank you for that opportunity.
First, let me say that collecting the back taxes is just a small part. I think we've got to get the money that's owed to us by people who've got lots of money. I think that it's clear that the Joe Louis Arena, that revenues have been playing for decades and decades and decades. We got an agreement to share in the royalties from television. We haven't received it. It's $80 million in just normal dollars. By the time we add our statutory interest, we could be looking at $250 million. Wow. Let's talk about the money that the state owes. It's $250 million as a result of the agreement that we made with them. That our mayor just doesn't have the fortitude to go after it. I do. And they know that I do. They know that I'm not afraid. Let's talk about expanding the tax base. You know, every time we have an event out at Belle Isle or down the Fox Theater or the Red Wings or the Lions, we put police officers, firefighters, and our heroes, the EMS people there, and no one pays for it. Those are our heroes. This coming week on Thursday, we're going to announce our 4% heroes tax on entertainment. That means that every time there's a Red Wings ticket sold, $3.18 will go into our heroes tax. Every time there's a Lions ticket sold, $3.90 will go into our heroes tax. I'm going to take that money, hire 500 new police officers, 200 new firefighters, and 76 new EMS people and 13 new rigs, and put them out in our neighborhoods. The problem in Detroit is that we can get a pizza quicker than we can get a cop. I'm going to expand the access to capital for those of you who are small business people. I run a business, I own my own business, and have worked for myself forever, other than the time that I was at Kroger's. Going to school. I know what it's like when you try to start a business and couldn't start a business. I know what it's like when you can't get a loan and you can't be able to have access to make payroll and that you've got to go without. I know what it's like when you got to work out of your house and you got to sacrifice to try to be able to make your little business grow. No, the nickels that, yes, of course we have money coming to us, but the nickels that we're trying to collect by cracking our heads, we need to go after the guys who got the big numbers. And those are the guys we're going to go after, and we'll have electronic filing, which is the other element.
Everyone said everything that needs to be done. We need to do all of this. We need to quit giving tax abatements. If you don't have any money, why are we giving tax abatements to billionaires and millionaires? The Tigers, on any given Sunday, there are 85 police officers down there at a Tiger game, 45 inside and 40 outside. And if you call 911 from your home, they'll tell you there are not enough police officers to answer that call. That's right. That is unconscionable. 85 police officers at a Tiger game. And if we have tried to make these people pay for these police officers through the secondary employment program so that they would have to hire off-duty police officers. The mayor has told me, but they don't want to pay. Well, we have a way to make them pay. We don't send the police officers to the game. The banks are responsible for these properties in our neighborhoods being boarded and up and abandoned. Detroit was specifically targeted because we had all of these homeowners in the city of Detroit who own these properties. We have whistleblowers who have said that, yes, I've sat in on meetings where they said, let's go after those homes in Detroit. Everybody who left the city of Detroit didn't leave because the services were so poor. A lot of people were forced out of their homes. So we need to make these people take care of these properties, make these properties inevitable, or even demolish them if they can't be rehabilitated. We need to quit sending money back to the federal government that they send here to demolish these properties. Someone gives you money to tear a house down and you let it sit in the account long enough so that you have to send it back to Lansing. Somebody should be in jail for that. Finally, we can't do any of this, and we don't have great selections unless we get this emergency manager out of here. He is the only person who has any authority to do anything, so we can talk and tell you everything that you want to hear. But the bottom line is, I am the candidate who stood up and said he shouldn't be here in the first place. I am still the candidate who is saying I am going to work to make sure that he leaves here illegally. Some of my colleagues have said and continue to say, well, he's here now, so we're going to have to work with him. I'll finish that when I get back up the next time.
First of all, I would like to reject the claim that there is no money. Last year alone, the automobile industry made $12 billion in profit. Where did that money come from? It was because between the corporations, the Democratic Party, and we also had the United Auto Workers leadership present in the audience, agreed to a half a pay cut of all new hirees coming in. Those workers are making less money now than when their parents and grandparents did in 1913. I want to get straight to the point. I am for reversing the pro-big business policies that have led to the destruction of the city for the last 30 to 40 years. I am for stop giving tax evaders to corporations. Any capitalist, rich person who has an income of over $1 million should be taxed 90%. That is where the money should come from to revitalize and rebuild Detroit. I am against raising fees on the general public and the working class people. They're the ones who have been bled dry in this city. It is the banks that have been bailed out. They're doing quite well, and they're the ones that are now demanding that pay cuts and further slashing of city services be made in order to line their pockets. So therefore, what I am saying is, provide public works program, put everybody back to work, and I can guarantee you that you will have more than enough people that will come back to the city of Detroit. There's also another thing on the last presentation that I am for. I am for socialized medicine. You want to rebuild the city? When workers find out that you guarantee they'll have free health care, I can guarantee they will want to find out ways in order to make up for having free health care and rebuilding the city. And therefore, they will create jobs. But instead, we're having more politicians who are going to carry out the same policy that have been carried out for the last 30 or 40 years.
When we talk about collecting and then expanding, collecting taxes, a lot of people talk about raising taxes. That's one way to raise revenue. But no. What about a novel idea of lowering taxes and then more people will pay the money? If you have different fees, let's say you get a parking ticket, starts out $20, then it becomes $40, $80, $100, you get to the point where you say, you know what, I'm not even going to pay it. And so the idea of lowering taxes, even if it's for a short amount of time, to raise the number of people that actually give towards the city. The second thing is, when you talk about collection, you need to know who owes. The city there's been so many articles that the city doesn't even know who owes money to the city. And so they don't even know who to go after. And when you have auditors, good auditors, that can tell us specifically who owes and how much they owe, we can go after them in whatever ways are necessary. In terms of expanding the tax base, when you look at it, expanding the tax base, you want to increase the livable areas of the city. You want to make the city a place that you can live. You want to increase the quality of life for the people that live here. No one is going to invest in a city that you can't raise a family in, that you can't walk the streets. The only thing that sometimes we're given in the city of Detroit is a red badge of courage. And for those who don't know, that's a gunshot wound. Because we don't have benefits of being able to go to our grocery stores, walk down our streets, not have to pay for education and things of that nature. So again, you look at collecting and expanding. Also, you also want to have areas of the city that people go to other than just downtown. You want to have different cultural areas around the city that are not just focused on downtown. People talk about Greek town, they talk about Mexican town. Everyone's afraid to say, what about an African town? What about an Irish town? What about all of these different areas that we can expand upon? And again, that's one of my plans in terms of collecting and expanding. Again, Herman Griffin from Mayoral City of Detroit.
Thank you, folk were talking, and I find it very interesting that we agree on a number of things as it relates to expanding tax base and all of that. I think you have to know some rules to the game, first of all. There are some laws in place which prevent the city of Detroit or any other village, city, or municipality from messing with their own taxes. And it's called Headley, and it's called Proposition 8. So anybody who tells you they're going to come and raise taxes or mess with taxes, you can't lower the taxes unless you get it done through the legislature. That's the first point that I'm against the law. And I'm just going to tell you what it is. I'm a lawmaker, and that's what I do. Second thing now, in the city of Detroit, we have computer systems, 3 of them, that don't even talk to each other. Right. They don't know how much money is out there. Right. They don't know how much money is owed. Everything you get is an approximate figure. They have no idea at present on how they're going to make payroll. The bank has to call the city of Detroit to tell them how much money they got and if they can make payroll or not. Now, how ridiculous is that? All I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, is that we got to do something about those systems that are antiquated. We got to come in, clean house, and get the right kind of technical equipment. This is the 21st century, and we are still in the 18th when it comes back to taking care of that business. The other thing, expanding, means that we need to do some tax amnesty programs. I can talk about that because I was chair of the Appropriations Government Relations Committee, and I can tell you what we did. What we did over the objection of the Treasury Department was to invoke a state tax amnesty program. They didn't want to do it. They said they'd only collect about $8,000. We made them do it. And guess how much they collected? $508 million.
Thank you to each of you. In the interest of time and temperature, we are going to reduce the amount of time we have to answer the next question. We are taking that time down to 1 minute. And you will think about 2 different segments of this question. The first part is, what is your position on Detroit's emergency manager law? The second part of the question is, how will you settle the deficit crisis? You have 1 minute. Let's start with
the manager part. I come from a background of community service, and I'm an advocate of democratic systems. I see myself as the relentless teacher of the emergency manager and his team of Banks, Snyder, and conservatives. I will teach them about compassion, the non-existent role of unelected, unconstitutional officials in the democratic government, and the strength of the 700,000 people of Detroit. If when I am mayor, the emergency manager and his team are still not working with transparency for the good of all Detroiters, I will use litigation, my formidable skills of making alliances near and far, and a plethora of nonviolent methods to be sure that the future of Detroit is charted by Detroiters.
Thank you. Thank you very much. John Telford.
As the school superintendent, I opposed the emergency manager of the Detroit Public Schools. I spent 10 months in that job fighting with that gentleman because he gave away 15 of our schools, then be purging $50 million buffer illegally, in my view. I do oppose, obviously, the concept of emergency management. That being said, every one of us, or whichever one of us becomes mayor, is going to have to work with this guy until we can get rid of him. Now, how to do that is the question, because he is the appointee of a governor who has been behaving more like a fascist than an old-time Republican. And I've never voted Republican, I've always been Democrat. But this man is neither Democrat nor Republican. I mean, he would have fit just fine in the beer halls of Munich, Germany in 1933. So that's the answer to that.
My name is Shapkowski, and the EM has got to go. That's it, period. Also, I want you to think about those initials, EM. Yes, we do need one. We need an emergency mayor. That's what we need. And that's going to be Shapkowski. That's what they should have looked at the forces of the EM as emergency mayor. Not this emergency manager. He's got to go. Really, he has got to go. I am not going to work with him. I'll tie him up in court. I'll do what I have to do. But I'm not going to work with him. And I don't think he's going to be too much like he wanting to work with me anyway. But so anyhow, it's going to be, I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to keep on doing what I have to do on a daily basis. He gets in my way, even Schneider, they get in my way, it's going to be the same thing. I'll charge him with obstruction of justice or something. That's what we need to do. I mean, that's happening that way. I'm going to tie him up, okay? I'm going to keep on going, run my mouth, and do what I have to do. Just stay out of my way, Schneider. Run your state.
The question on the floor is, what is your position on Detroit's emergency management law, and how will you settle the deficit crisis? Judge Liscombe.
1 minute, thank you. I think it's unconscionable that this individual has come into this city after so many people have struggled to make this city work. It really is on the brink of a comeback. Now, we see the same thing. If you read the paper this week or watched the news, they took over 36 district court. Same sort of thing. The state court administrators in Lansing, Representative Mayoral knows very well, they have been running that court for the last 20 years. Then they come in and get rid of Judge King and make him responsible for what happened over the last 20 years. That court has been hemorrhaging money because the state has refused to put the money in there to computerize it, to allow electronic filing, and all of the modern things. I had a committee established, and I found that we were losing $10 to $15 million every 9 months because we were employing these archaic systems, paper systems, when we should have gone electronic, and they knew it, but they would not support modernizing that court.
All right. Mark Murphy, how will you settle the deficit crisis? You have 1 minute.
First and foremost, I am against the emergency manager being here in the city of Detroit. The emergency manager don't belong here in the city of Detroit, first and foremost, because you didn't put him here. So when you place a person in office, our next mayor, we are going to move the city forward. Let me tell you how we increase let me tell you how we actually work on improving the city, how we actually move the city forward. We move the city forward by giving you the tools to invest in yourself. Nobody has ever talked about giving you the tools to move your own community forward. Your community is a representation of yourself. It's not the structure on the ground. It's not the asphalt on the street. It is you. You make that community. And when we talk about all the other communities in the city of Detroit where it's abandoned, they're abandoned because the people are not left their community. Let's give you the tools to make your community better and watch their community come up from the ground. Thank you very much. Mark Murphy.
Dr. King talked about interposition and nullification. Governor Snyder has imposed his will on the people of the city of Detroit to nullify ours. I am 1,000% against the emergency management. I don't think there's anyone sitting here who does support the emergency financial management. We're all against that, I'm sure. But to get to the second part of the question, how do you deal with the deficit? We have to take a strategic view of city services, and we have to look at it from two perspectives. Those things that we absolutely must do and must do well, and I say that's public health, safety, and welfare. The second thing we're going to have to do is look at things that we would like to do, and we may need some help doing it and get them done. The third thing is we're going to have to look at some stuff and say it's nice to do, but maybe we just don't have the resources to do it. We have to look some other way. We don't have a fiscal emergency, but we do have a fiscal urgency. We need to recognize that, and we need to work towards making this the great city that it once was. And I believe that the best days of the city of Detroit are in front of us and not behind us. That's right.
Let's just be clear. If there were no emergency manager or a consent agreement, there would be no platform for certain candidates in this race. None whatsoever. We all agree that the emergency manager is wrong. The legislature had the first opportunity to stand against it. I was one of those legislators. So let's take that off the table. How do you fix the problems? That's the second part of your question. How do you address the deficit? Number one, we can reduce the deficit in the city of Detroit, improve our cash flow problem, and responsibly pay down debt. We do that by allocating eligible expenses that would allow us to match revenues from the federal government through our federal grant programs. That's number one. When we reduce the deficit, we can put more money toward those things we care about, like recreational centers, like our public safety officers. The second thing is having legislation that will allow us to collect our income taxes on a more timely basis. With that money coming in on a more regular basis, you don't threaten to have furlough days and 10% pay cuts. And then you responsibly pay down the debt without selling off your assets. Thank you.
What is your position on Detroit's emergency manager law, and how will you settle the deficit?
Thank you. I don't think it's any secret that I'm opposed to the emergency manager. I have I campaigned against the PA4 to repeal it, put my money into it, to buy the literature and buy things that pass out to repeal it. I am opposed to PA 436. I think I made that increasingly clear. And I will tell you also that although he may be in charge and controlling the money right now, I will tell you what I won't do. First of all, I want you to know this deficit is this whole thing of $15 billion. That's all fake. That's phony. That's debt. That has nothing to do with the deficit. That's designed to trick you. But one thing I will not do, I will not stand at attention wearing a suit and tie when a man comes down from Lansing with an open collar shirt and a sport coat on and some dungarees. I will never allow him to disrespect us in that manner. I will tell you that if he comes down that way and disrespects you in that manner, I will arrive with a band line on, a windbreaker, some Bermuda shorts and flip-flops. I will never allow them to disrespect Detroit like they're doing now. We will correct what little financial problem we got, but it is not what they're making it out to be, folks. Don't buy into the premise.
Municipal financing, federal regulations, transportation, anything. I have worked for the city of Detroit since 1994. I am probably the only person sitting up here, well, not the only, I think a couple of more who actually read the charter. So let's talk about the emergency manager being a singular issue for any candidate. I will say this, the fact that anyone does not recognize that this is the most important issue that we need to address and discuss in this election, to me, is disheartening. We can have all the plans we want. We can sit here and talk about what we're going to do about City Airport and how we're going to tear down buildings. Mr. Orr is the only person who has any authority to do anything. When he took office on March
28, your elected officials lost their power. He restored their power by issuing an executive order, but he could be sitting right down there now at KMAC with his ink pen saying, never mind, I don't want a mayor and city council. We need to address this. These candidates keep saying, let's just work with the peace here. There is no working with somebody who's in your home illegally. You do what is necessary to get them out of here.
As I said earlier, I am against the emergency manager, and I am for his immediate ousting. I say, as well as my party, the Socialist Equality Party, that we should send him packing immediately. What I will say is that we're also for replacing the existing city council with a workers' council. There should be unemployed people, workers, and students who are genuinely committed to serving the public. Right now you have a council, again, who are out for themselves. And it is amazing how a number of police law enforcement officers that are seeking office of mayor. No one speaks about the occupation of Boston. Just 2 months ago, where you had a Democratic mayor and a governor that allowed the federal government to bring in the military, told people to stay in their homes, had tanks coming down the streets. Now, this was all being done for one man. What would happen if there's a general strike in Detroit of workers to put a stop to the union busing, the school closings? I can tell you right now, the reaction of the law enforcement and the federal government would be very much different.
Thank you. I do remind you to resist the urge to speak while the candidates are sharing their platform.
That everybody else said, completely against emergency management. Completely. Understanding that my focus is always the plan. Making sure that the reason that he's here, or the reason that he continues to be here, no longer exists. We don't want an emergency manager. But we want to make sure that we have a plan in place that seeks to keep the citizens first. I want the children to be able to walk home when they get out of school, and make sure that our seniors are safe and things of this nature. We have one of the reasons emergency manager because other people have placed their needs ahead of the constituents, ahead of the people. In saying that, moving forward, the idea of what I would do outside of emergency manager is making sure, again, that you negotiate with all the stakeholders and that you make sure that the sacrifices that you ask people to make, that they don't have to continue making those sacrifices year after year after year after year. And so again, that's what I would say in terms of emergency manager, completely against it, but also a plan. Thank you.
Yes, there are a couple of things I want to share with you today. Many of you may know by now, 1 hour ago, the emergency manager issued an ultimatum to the city council president, who told him, as he requested to go on medical leave, that he has until 5 o'clock tomorrow to come to work, resign. Come to work or resign. That is in the news when you get home. Second bad thing that happened today that you ought to know about, it affects African Americans and people of color across the United States, and that is that the United States Supreme Court has just ruled to do away with the Voter Rights Act in certain sections, and we're returning to a point of states' rights. Having said all of that, I think it's daggone clear what is going on in the country and in the city. You've got takeover by non-elected officials. I've opposed that from the very beginning, and I will continue to do it. We have lawsuits that are filed that are against this, and I'm going to fight it until we can't do it anymore.
Thank you to each of you. Now, we all know that Detroiters love Belle Isle. So the next question for the candidates is, what is your solution to manage Belle Isle? You have 1 minute. Let's start with Fred Durham.
Leave the hell alone.
Detroiters managing Belle Isle, you have to be honest. You have to charge. You have to charge people to get on Belle Isle, but you got to use that money wisely. If you're going to keep it, you got to use that money wisely. I like going on Belle Isle. First of all, I don't want to have to be charged. But what I'm saying is, you want to keep that asset, utilize that asset, improve the asset. You want to make sure that you're charging people a small fee, but again, using that money wisely to fix up our asset.
What is your solution for managing Belle Isle?
As a city worker, I believe that all workers need to have a social right to both art, culture, as well as recreation. I am against any idea to sell the DIA or Belle Isle. I am also against the selling of any public assets that have been built up in the hard sweat that workers have created in the city. I am for all the parks to be maintained and upgraded. I believe in all the recreation centers should be reopened, the ones that have been closed. There should be recreation centers that are open 24 hours in order to provide workers not only with leisure, but the right to improve their health. We have people working afternoons and midnight shifts that have to spend an exorbitant amount of money on gym fees. In Detroit, we have a lot of children who do not know how to swim because the public schools have been shut down. You have no recreation centers that teach young people. Rouge Park was one of the largest parks in Detroit in the 1920s. That was the Summer Olympics.
Thank you. Crystal, what is your solution for managing Belle Isle?
Let me just say this. I am offended that we are even talking about Belle Isle. Belle Isle is a premium piece of real estate. It is sitting in the Detroit River on an international border. 25% of the trade that comes into this country comes in through the city of Detroit. They want Belle Isle because it's worth a lot of money. That's why they want Belle Isle. And they want to say they want to take this asset off our hands to do us a favor. We need police officers. We need EMS vehicles. We need street lighting. If you really want to help us, state of Michigan, help us by getting some of those things. $2 million would have turned on 85% of the street lights in the city of Detroit. $150,000 would have gotten a fleet of EMS vehicles off of a car lot in downtown Detroit. Do not believe that Belle Isle is so bad that it can't be fixed by us. If I were to say right now, first Saturday of every month, all block clubs in the city of Detroit show up at Belle Isle, we're going to take care of it. We'd be out there, it would be beautiful. We need to tell them to quit talking about the Belle Isle, get their hands off Belle Isle, and not in Belle Isle. This is our asset and we're going to keep it.
Thank you very much. Tom Barrows, what is your solution for managing Belle Isle?
Thank you very much. Let me say this, I have to, there's nothing, you know what, our family reunions, we go out to Belle, nothing wrong with Belle Isle. This is them just trying to devalue everything that we own, to break our spirit and make us think that we need them to help us out. This is all part of the conservative plan to take over Detroit and its city assets. Belle Isle is fine. The golf course could be fine if we just go out there and cut the dang gone grass. We're doing this deliberately because we don't have leadership from the top that values it, but he's one of them. And he's one of those who wants to take it over. There's nothing wrong with our Belle Isle. We shouldn't even be talking about Belle Isle. Folks don't understand our connection to the land. They want Belle Isle because the Belle Isle is valuable. They want Belle Isle because they want to be able to control who goes out there. So after a certain amount of time, you won't even be able to get on the island. If you let them do it, you let them run things. No, there's nothing wrong with Belle Isle. We can take care of our Belle Isle as we're doing right now. Go out there on a Tuesday or Wednesday. You'll see it looks nice.
$52 million in economic activity is what Penske helped to generate every time he has the Grand Prix on Belle Isle. That number alone lets you know that that island has value. Now, something I said in 2009 related to Belle Isle was, and when you talk about our own responsibility, that a sacred cow that produces no milk is a dead cow. So in other words, if we value something, we got to be able to put our money where our mouth is. This whole issue about paying a fee to get on Belle Isle, that's down here. That's the low-hanging fruit. We could have handled that a long time ago. So people of Detroit, if we want to own something, if we want to control something, if we want to manage something, then we got to take care of it ourselves. And the way we take care of it is we got to put our money where our mouth is.
Your solution for managing Belle Isle. You have 1 minute. I would like to remind everybody to keep outside conversation to a minimum as the candidates are speaking, and also put your questions in the basket.
I'll have to take a couple of minutes to apologize to you. I just got a page. I have a little issue in my jail that I have to take care of, so I have to answer this question. I apologize for that. But my solution to Belle Isle is simple. We've done a lot to talk about Belle Isle. We haven't come up with any real solutions. We all love Belle Isle. The truth is, quite frankly, a lot of people in this city were conceived on Belle Isle. So Belle Isle is very important to us as Detroiters. And so here's the real issue. Why not try to do something creative? Why not take the option of putting out an RFP for Belle Isle to see what people who are more entrepreneurially minded, local folks, to see what they would do? But we need to open back up the flower house, open up the aquarium, put the hoses back out, bicycles, put the boats back in that canal. And we can do that, and you won't have to charge to get on Belle Isle because it'll be making money. So let's do it that way. Let's do it the smart way. And let's turn it into the asset that it truly is. Thank you.
Mark Murphy, what is your solution for managing Belle Isle? You have 1 minute.
First and foremost, I am against any fee to get on Belle Isle. There haven't been a fee since the island was there. We're not going to make one now. Our children and grandchildren need to have access to public spaces just as well as we have access to public spaces. But what are we going to do about Belle Isle? Well, how are we going to manage that island? That island is a very big island. What we're going to do under my administration is we're going to work with the same people who brought the Michigan State Fair here to Detroit. We're going to work with them. We're going to work with them to actually bring that to Belle Isle. We're going to bring the Michigan State Fair here, or some similar to that, through over there on the old zoo land. We're going to bring that. We're going to bring the fair right over there in that area. We're going to keep it here not just for 2 weeks, but maybe throughout the summer, give our kids something else to do besides being in the streets. Thank you very much.
And your solution for managing Belle Isle.
Thank you. Belle Isle is the largest island park in the United States, and it is truly a jewel. I'm going to be direct about this. Sometimes some of my supporters tell me, you're too direct. But as long as we can go to Kensington, Lower Huron, and all of those other parks, and pay an admission fee to take care of somebody else's park, we should be able to do the same thing for our park. Manage it properly and make it the jewel that it should be. It's a stunning, spectacular jewel that we need to invest in.
That's right. Mr. Shapaski, what is your plan?
My plan is very simple. If they want their 60 cents or 30 cents, the state wants that money, that's fine. But I'm not going to charge no Detroiters, okay? No Detroiters will be charged any admission fee getting on that island. The summer people, come on, pay your money. We need it. We'll take it. That's the way we're going to look at it. And the government will get us 60 cents. If it's $5 admission, get 30 cents. If it's $10, we'll get 60 cents. But Detroit will not be charged.
John Telford, what is your solution for managing Belle Isle?
When I was a kid, I rode in buggies on Belle Isle. I ran track on Belle Isle. I took my teams when I was coaching. I ran track on Belle Isle. And the Persians, went to Persian, Southeastern. We need to put an all-weather indoor field house on Belle Isle, or a Tiger Stadium lot. That's one of the things we need to do. The other thing we need to do is in the summer, we do need to charge the suburbanites to come out. But we also need to charge ourselves a fee for a car, not for a bicycle, not for walkers, not for kids, but we need to generate revenue to keep Belle Isle. And again, that is the jewel of the city. We must not let it be leased or taken away from us. We are Detroiters, and Belle Isle belongs to us. I can remember canoes on Belle Isle, in the canals. I'm old enough to remember when that happened. And I'm not going to say how old I am because my committee told me I'm not supposed to tell you. But I think it's reprehensible that anyone is even thinking about giving or leasing Belle Isle. To put Belle Isle in control of anyone but Detroiters. That is our island.
Hi, I'm Jean Wortkamp, and I go to Belle Isle all the time. I grew up on Belle Isle. It is safe. I know every inch of Belle Isle. I know that the bus that used to go, the regular DDOT, does not go across the bridge anymore. I know people that actually work on the island, they have to walk across the bridge every day to get there. There should never be a fee to get on that island. It should be open to everyone, just as it always has been. There was a concert there called the Orion Festival with 40,000 people, and there was hardly any Detroiters in that crowd. I can guarantee you that. And if just the fees from that one concert, you could probably take care of Belle Isle for a very long time. It should never, ever be put in the hands of the Conservancy of Belle Isle, because in Benton Harbor, they're slipping their park into the hands of the Conservancy so that they can sell it to private owners. We need to keep that right in our hands because it's ours, and the revenue from that island is ours.
Answer period. And I will be selecting questions from the basket and asking each individual candidate. Judge Lipscomb, you have the first question. What have you done in the community to fight against crime and violence? And what is your plan to rebuild this city? You have 1 minute. It's crime and violence, and what is your plan to rebuild the city?
Thank you. For the past almost 30 years, I was a judge in 36th District Court, but as I said earlier, we won't get out of this by sending another generation of young people to prison. So we have to enforce the law, but at the same time, programs such as I started, the handgun intervention program 20 years ago, was the first program of its type in this country to dissuade youth from carrying guns and committing violence. The program has been recognized nationally. I do it every Saturday morning in 36th District Court. Although I'm retired, I'm still there every Saturday. I see some of our graduates and some of our volunteers right in here. We've had a number of people come through that program and come back for year after year after year. To develop this city, the first thing we have to do is make it safe. We have to cut the homicides. Homicides have to be cut down. In this city, on Saturday mornings, I ask the participants, thank you very much. Willie Lipscomb, vote for me August 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. That question was courtesy of Star Jackson. Stu Jackson, I'm sorry. I thought I'd make a good attempt. Okay, this question isn't addressed to the individual candidate, and I will select Lisa Howes to answer the next question. As mayor, why would you work with the emergency? Why would you work with the EM, whether he is here illegally or not? What is your position?
When I ask to become your mayor, I'm asking to represent you. That's my first and my primary objective and focus. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, as it comes to the emergency manager, we all know what an atrocity it was to the people of the state of Michigan to have our votes overturned. But through the legislative process, whether you like it or not, they got the bill passed and we have an emergency manager in the city of Detroit anyway. Let's accept that fact. We don't have to like it, but the goal is to serve you. So how can I serve you? I gotta keep you safe. I gotta fix the finances, not only in the city of Detroit, but in your personal finances. If you can't balance your budget, pay your bills, meet the needs of your children, to send them to school and get them back home safely, then we got a serious problem. The things I may say may not get a lot of applause because why, it makes sense and it's making you think, so I'm glad you're quiet right now. That's how I would work under an emergency manager.